ashes. The children were dressed to kill. Everyone was going along, living it up, to use a non-Japanese term. He also saw this, so he simply passed a law. Any person of wealth who exhibits this wealth excessively shall have his entire fortune confiscated by the state. They just took it away from them. He said, if we do not curb extravagances, if we continue to confront the people with the misuse of wealth, it will destroy the nation. Now, he lived around he was a dictator in the early 17th century, but he made his point very clear and made it stick. That ostentation is the basis of anarchy. Now, we all know these things. If we read history, read Gibbon's Decline of the Roman Empire, it'll tell you the whole story. But why are we continuing in this way? Why are we overlooking? Why are we allowing a perfectly wonderful life to be wasted by dissipation? Or why we allow a thoughtful mind to be dedicated only to trivia? Why is this possible in a world in which man has been endowed with higher faculties and powers? Well, one of the answers, of course, lies in this problem of the lack of philosophical guidance. Someone asked in a newspaper not long ago for the name of 2 or 3 outstanding American philosophers. The editor replied, there are not any. There are plenty of scientists and economists to burn, and there are also all kinds of politicians, but there are no philosophers. And this lack of true philosophy has corrupted music, art, literature, clothing. It has corrupted human relationships. It is contributing to crime. It is breaking homes. It is creating millions of narcotic addicts, because now cocaine is one of the symbols of luxurious living. What's happening? Values have been forgotten. The true reason for wealth has been forgotten. The proper use of what you do have must be restored if you want to solve the existing problem. There is no other solution. Discipline, in this case, needs leadership. Now, where do we go for leadership in idealism? Well, we can look around, and it seems to be in short supply. But we have a tremendous reservoir of it which we are neglecting, and that is religion. Religion has been in head-on collision with materialism, because unless materialism discounts religion, its own position is impossible. So it is easier to deny religion than to correct the faults of science. But in spite of all the ups and downs, we have on this planet a reservoir of probably 2.5 billion religion-oriented people. It is the largest existing social group. It excels all others in number and in basic instruction. It has much to contribute. Yet we will study the history of the Roman Empire, we will study the problems of the Renaissance, we will try to investigate what was wrong with the Medici, and we will also try to prove conclusively why Alexander died under the battlements of Babylon. And yet in our public school system, we are afraid to even mention the world's greatest unit, religion. There is no other part of human society that is more significant, has a longer and more unusual history, has had more ups and downs, and has been the cause of greater good or greater ill than religion. And yet we are not even allowed, really, to consider it as part of an educational system unless we go to a theological seminary. Now, we are quite in harmony with the idea that it probably is not proper in a democratic country to favor one religious group over another. This is in violation of a constitutional amendment which is primary and proper. But to face the fact, frankly, there is no reason why religion cannot be part of education, where it can be studied as one of the major institutions of human society. We should never be afraid or ashamed to mention it. We can approach it historically, we can approach it philosophically, but we do not need to become involved in theological disputes. But without some kind of idealism, and where are we going to find it? Where are we going to find an idealism that is a substitute for the Sermon on the Mount? And why do we need a substitute? So our monetary system, in order to straighten itself out, should read Scripture a little more attentively to find out what it's all about. Our present economy that we are so proud of is not practical. It is not factual. It cannot survive the forces that are now gathering around it unless it becomes enlightened. It must begin the problem or accept the responsibility of the recognition of the responsibilities of success in any field or department of life. How would we go about to instrument this? Well, we know that it's going to be heavily opposed. We know that everyone is going to have some reason why he doesn't want it. But the fact remains that gradually that which we cannot control, and that is destiny, is stepping in. What man cannot handle, he must leave to heaven. And up to the present time, heaven has been keeping the galaxies in fair order for uncounted billions of light years. So we might have a little confidence in it. In this sense of the word, then, we notice with marked interest that what man does not voluntarily assume, he has thrust upon him. Within the last 25 years, there has been a great resurgence of religion. The individual, placed in a condition absolutely precarious to his survival, is beginning to think in terms of his own inner life. There are probably more persons attending church at the present time in proportion to the population than ever before since the end of the 18th century. We are gaining the realization that we must change ourselves, and we must gradually build our foundation not upon a material anthill, but upon an internal integrity which is infallible. This change is making inroads in every phase of our living. We are becoming more and more addicted to the idea of solving something. Communities are taking over their own projects. There is greater consideration for the unsolved problems. And most of the leaders in these better movements are either religiously or philosophically oriented. They believe in something above matter. They believe in something which can bestow upon mankind a true and proper guidance, a guidance which can lead him out of the present dilemma. One problem, I imagine, is the same that faces nearly everyone, and that's fear. Fear can be a very dangerous and terrible thing. But the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom according to the Bible. Now, the translation of that word fear from the original Hebrew is not the best choice of words. It was not reason actually terror or something of that nature. Fear in this case is used more or less philosophically to suggest or imply that we are afraid of our own evil, that we fear the law of life if we break it, that we therefore would rather not break it and not bring down a retribution upon ourselves. But actually, man in his fear looks someplace to turn. He's looking for a place to find the means to get a home when he can't find a place to live. He's beginning to be afraid of inflation. He is afraid of energy limitations. He is afraid of a corrupted ecology. He is afraid of his neighbor. He is afraid of every institution which has exploited him down through the years. Therefore, fear ends in a kind of philosophical desperation. The individual finally decides that he has to reorient his own life and put his faith in that in which there is a right of faith. And the motto of the country, "In God we trust," is coming true. We are beginning to realize that it is not entirely safe under existing conditions to trust anything else. So, to find this faith, we have to look inside. We have to take the experiences of the day and distill from them something valuable. We cannot turn away this experience because we didn't like it and accept this failing because it seems pleasant. We're going to have to get down to basics, to a real foundation in values. It will come. Many people are very much disturbed and disappointed about all this, but I think very much definitely it will come. We are going to wake up. We were created to wake up, and it has been a long and tedious procedure. But in spite of all of his mistakes, humanity has survived. He is here. He is on and he is working. And little by little, he is beginning to discover a heart in his work. He is beginning to see that if he uses the natural resources of his planet wisely and unselfishly, we can all live together in comparative security. We can find ways of making our lives useful and beneficial and a source of inspiration inside of ourselves. Under such conditions, if we land in the judgment hall of Osiris, we will pass with shining honors. We will be safe. And our safety beyond this life is beginning to be more important to us. We are beginning to realize that there are many things we have hoped for here which are not going to happen. But we must recognize that no individual who is dedicated to principles can fail. Failure is a term in economics which means you do not succeed economically. But real failure has nothing to do with economics. It has primarily to do with the lack of internal growth. Therefore, a challenge is the most important thing in the world. And at this moment, the challenge of our economic system is the most pressing problem that we have today. We are talking constantly about trying to balance a budget. We are not in any position at the moment to balance it according to the best we can find out, because when we think we have it balanced in one direction, it tips over the other. We are not going to be able to balance a budget until we integrate ourselves as human beings. If we are able to do that which is right, we realize that all the benevolencies of life come from a power beyond ourselves. The fruit on our trees, the grass that grows under our feet, everything that we have belongs to a natural law, a natural procedure in space. We can benefit from it. We can be wonderful gardeners in the garden that has been given to us.